This is Luke.
Hey Luke, this is Richard. We are live
Hey.
and in person. We are ready to go here.
Okay, I'll mute you and listen.
All right.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the September 5th, 2023 meeting of the Brookings County Board of Adjustment. The meeting is being recorded, televised, and viewable on Swiftel Channel 19, ITC Channel 168, or the Brookings County YouTube channel. I'd ask for a approval of the previous minutes.
So moved. Second, Aiken.
Okay. Motion by Dietrich, second by Tanner Aiken. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes approved. Any items to be added to the agenda by commission members or staff?
County has nothing.
Okay. Anyone wanting to speak during the agenda item must sign in prior to start of the meeting. Any requested action items such as scheduled for a future meeting date, time is limited to 5 minutes to address the commission. Is there any disclosure of any conflicts of interest, relationships to the applicant, or ex parte communications? We have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Excuse me, point of order to the board. Make sure you have your mic on and you have it up close to your mouth so we can hear it, because it doesn't always pick up for the recordings and the video later on. Thank you.
Okay. This one. Okay. So the Joint Board of Adjustment is a 5-member board which has the power to hear requests for variances, conditional uses, appeals from non-ministerial decisions of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of 2/3 of the full board membership of the board, 4 votes, is necessary for approval of variance or an appeal of the zoning officer. The concurring vote of a simple majority of those board members present and voting is necessary for approval of a conditional use permit. In accordance with Robert's Rules of Order, we require a motion to be approved requests before the request can be debated. As a matter of policy, all motions are made in the positive. The board, under specific powers granted by the state, shall authorize variances from the zoning requirements where special conditions existing on the land will result in unnecessary hardship for the applicant. Financial disadvantage to the property owner shall not constitute proof of unnecessary hardship. Okay. Right into this? Okay. Our first item that's before us tonight, Cody Clifford has made an application 2023 JJCU 004 to the Joint Jurisdiction Board of Adjustment for a conditional use permit. Joint zoning ordinance for Brookings County and the City of Brookings. Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 3.0604, Zone A, Aquifer Critical Impact Zone, Section 3.06.04.02, Conditional Uses in Zone A, Number 4, accessory structures greater than 120 square feet in area. The property is described as Westall's addition to the northwest quarter of Section 22, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 1202 58th Avenue, Brookings, South Dakota 57006. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved. Diedrich.
Motion by Dietrich,
Second. Vanderwall.
second from Vanderwall. All in favor? Or no? We have staff report.
Yes. 2023 JJCU 004, Cody Clifford has applied for a Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdictional Ordinance, Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 3.0604, Zone A, Aquifer Critical Impact Zone, Section 3.060402, Conditional Uses in Zone A, Number 4, accessory structures greater than 120 square feet in area. The proposed building is 66 feet wide, 96 feet long, with a bathroom, cement floor, drain traps, and a sealed holding tank will be used for personal storage. The drain traps and sealed storage meet the performance standards in Zone A in Section 3.06.0404 on page 47, and the performance standards of Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone, in Section 3.06.0504 on page 48 of the Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdictional Ordinance. The property was an existing farmstead and is zoned agricultural and is in the northern edge of Zone A, Aquifer Critical Impact Zone. Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone, and the northern portion of the property is in the floodplain. The house and an existing shed were built on a knoll that is 14 feet higher than the rear of the property that is located in the floodplain. Proposed shed will be built on the knoll. The property is located a half mile north on 58th Avenue off US Highway 14. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Aurora Township Chairman and Clerk, and the Brookings Municipal Utilities. And a staff report was sent to Brookings Community Development Office and Brookings Municipal Utilities. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 22nd and 29th, 2023. Here is the applicant's conditional use permit, the front page. Here is his site plan. This is a proposed building, what it would look like. This is the footprint. This is a beacon map showing the joint jurisdictional area, the yellow hashtagged area. This is the applicant's building site right here, 11.32 acres. This is the beacon map with the aquifer materials map on it, showing the yellow in here. This is the beacon map showing the floodplain, which is the red area, which is just on the northern edge of the property here. And this is just the beacon map for the property, showing the location and the boundaries on there. This is photos of the area. This is looking north from his driveway, looking north on 58th Avenue. This is looking towards the south. This is looking down the driveway from 58th Avenue. This is at the driveway where it curves to go up to the house and the other outbuildings right there. You can see it goes uphill to the knoll. This is the other existing accessory building that is there, which is to the north of the house. This is the house, which is on top of the knoll. This is just looking south of the house where the proposed building would be constructed. This is looking from the south edge of the building, looking north towards that. Just another picture of the proposed building. This is the proposed building right here looking towards the northwest. Back here where the trees are, where it drops off, that is the area that is in the floodplain. And this knoll is approximately 13 to 14 feet higher than what it is back here. This is just looking from the proposed building, looking back out towards the road, looking towards the west. That's all that I have, and we did receive comment and correspondence from Brookings Municipal Utilities, which the board received this evening in a letter on there, and that's all that I have for my report.
Okay, thank you.
The applicant is here this evening.
Now, would the applicant want to come forward and speak on behalf of his request?
Hello, I'm Cody Clifford. Guess just looking to put a building up at the house for personal use. After applying for the permit, we didn't even know this was a issue because apparently it was done about the beginning of the year. And if you didn't read it in the paper, the landowners didn't know about it. So here we are with this. I talked to Richard a little bit. I think the biggest thing, I guess, what I was told is it would have to have a concrete floor, which of course it would, and that would be the idea. And then the septic system would not be a true septic system. It would have to be a sealed tank for a bathroom in there and a floor drain or floor drains in there. There may be a sink or something like that in there, I guess, but it's not, I mean, it's not a business use, I guess. Yes, I do own the body shop in Aurora. The idea is to keep a tow truck in there in the wintertime. Right now it sits outside, I mean, if the issue is that vehicles outside and not on concrete, well, it sits outside right now, so I guess it'd be on concrete at least, and this in a heated shop was the idea with it. So it's not that it's moving the business there or anything. I think I read a deal from the city of Brookings and they kind of skew it a little bit, I think, making it seem like I'm running a business out of there, but that's not the intention. So it's for personal enjoyment and obviously to put my truck in there in the winter whenever I want, I guess. So because we get called out all times of night and it's no fun trying to clean the truck off at 2 o'clock in the morning and whatever. So I guess that's kind of what I have unless you got questions.
Any questions from the board? Okay. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you.
We'll open the public hearing. So is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak in favor of the petition? Anyone who wants to speak against? Forward and state your name.
Thank you. Eric Witt, Water and Wastewater Manager at BMU. We did submit a letter of opposition to this project, and it's not because of the nature of the building itself. It's the location within Zone A. So Zone A is the critical aquifer recharge area for the primary water source for Brookings and Aurora. Viable water sources are limited in South Dakota. We have 2. We need both of them in good condition to supply the community. It's not like if I have a problem at one location, I can move up and drill more wells at a different location. This is a pretty defined recharge area, and you'll see that in the image of Zone A on the letter I submitted. So it is towards the northern end. I'll admittedly acknowledge that. There is a time of travel underground for any contaminant, but the concern is not how long it would take to get there. It's could contaminants get there and then end up in our well field. The building itself, I understand his comment about his intended personal use. It is a really large accessory building for a non-ag rural residential. So whether now or in the future, there is a definite potential for fuel storage, vehicle storage, paints, solvents, a number of items that go along with an accessory building, potentially that large. So we are concerned with its location in Zone A and the size of the structure for what appears to be a rural residential property. So I won't go through the letter blow by blow, but I could certainly answer any questions you might have on my comments or what's in the letter. I will say, as drinking water standards have become more and more stringent, the levels I'm required to test for a variety of contaminants is increasingly stringent. EPA has come out with recent regulations on certain contaminants. I'm now testing down into the parts per trillion range. So not parts per million, not parts per billion. Certain contaminants, I'm looking at parts per trillion. So we are sensitive to activities in Zone A in particular of the wellhead protection area. And this does exceed the square footage limit of the conditional use. And we'd ask that you take our concerns under consideration, and I could answer any questions you might have regarding the letter or concerns we might have.
Any questions for Eric while he's here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else want to speak on either for or against? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Board, do we have any questions, comments, input?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions, I guess, as I would like to address the size requirement of the building. It's rather large. Back when we made these conditional uses, we had an awful lot of meetings over the size of the buildings. Originally, it was suggested to be 16 square feet for an accessory building, about the size of a doghouse. That didn't fly with the planning commission at that time on the county side, and it was revised to allow for selective conditional use for additional accessory buildings. It was not anticipated that someone would come in and ask for the size of a building, simply because we don't have a process in place in the county to regulate such size of a building. In other words, you're going to have to require different traps for different types of chemicals you might have in there, even if it's gasoline, oil, or whatever you might have. In addition to that, the tank system, the sewage holding tank, we don't have any regulations that, other than when you build the facility, to assure that those things are in place and taken care of for the safety of the district, Zone A. But as this building continues to stay there, whether you're owning it or not, in 5, 10, 15, 25, 30 years, the building could still be there and maybe used for things that we don't really want to have in that building over the aquifer. And we don't have a system to check that. And this large building, even in a smaller building, we don't have those requirements. But we also recognize in a smaller facility, we're probably not going to have that big of an issue. Size is an issue for me. So my question is you talk about one truck you want to have inside. Additional vehicles, equipment for this size of a building, can you make the building smaller and be content? Yeah, come up to the microphone if you would, please.
Well, first of all, I store one truck in my personal garage because I obviously leave from my house on a call. So I have 2 trucks at my house right now. The size of the building is just, let me just say, it's not all, I think it showed on that, it's not all shop. There's some man cave, if you will, 20 foot of that wide and the full length or the full depth of it, so is not shop. So, does that make sense? So you're down to 75 feet. That would actually be a shop area because 20 foot on the one end, I believe, is in that drawing would be a man cave, if you will, or something like that. So,
I didn't see anything in the request that talked about a man cave as part of your
I'm pretty
building.
sure it was in that drawing, was it not?
Is it in there? It does say it, okay.
Okay.
I saw the square part of it, but not the man cave.
So it would be essentially that from there over from that line this way or to the B area would not be shop area. It's not living quarters either. So
Well, it can't be.
what exactly, and that's why I'm telling you that.
That's not allowed. So I guess my concern is the size of the building, and we have under the conditional use the ability to change the size of the building if we feel it's necessary and it's too large for protecting the aquifer. But I'm not sure what that size is. That's why I'm asking.
Well,
What
and that's
size
the thing,
is
I mean, it's
doable?
these rules are put in place, and I understand this building is bigger than some might seem necessary or whatever, and that's fine, but it's what I want, so I don't see why I can't. I understand it's now, I understand it's a wellhead issue, but yeah, I mean, do I need a building that big? I mean, probably not, but this is what I'm at right now, I guess, and I guess I don't, if you guys don't have or you guys aren't set up to monitor a building of this size, that's not really my fault though either. I mean, that was, if you just plainly are saying, well, your guys' square footage is 120 square feet. I mean, that's almost unrealistic on an acreage, it's a garden shed, so that doesn't leave a lot of room. I understand it's one extent to another on a type of deal like this, but you got to consider as a homeowner, somebody that's living out there, and then have to come to a meeting like this to ask to do something on your own property. That's kind of sucks too, so I don't think the size in my mind is ridiculous. I have a smaller shed there that I fixed up a little bit and put heat in it, but it's a short shed that you can't hardly get a vehicle in. I can't even drive a skid steer in. The doors are so short on it, so it's basically a storage shed. Whether I got 5 kids, whether I have them all park outside in the gravel that you guys are so concerned about being on the water, if I park 5 cars in that shed, isn't that better?
I'm a car guy. I understand that part of it.
Well, then you should understand the shed size.
Well, it's a statement I make oftentimes. If a man thinks he has enough storage, he doesn't understand his predicament.
Right.
And so I'm just a little concerned over the aquifer. We were really trying to protect that from that type of facility. We did go bigger than 16 square feet. With the conditional use that we could dictate this is too much, and it doesn't protect the aquifer if it's too large. So that's why I ask. We can't guarantee the use of that building for 30 years down the road.
Right. No, and I understand that. And I can't either. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that I'm going to live there the rest of my life or not. So I I completely understand that, but
And if
I
the
don't
ca-
think that I should be, I mean, I don't, do any of you guys live in the wellhead area where you're not allowed to do something? If I'm less than a quarter mile away from this, somebody can do basically whatever they want this size with no restriction. It's that close. I mean, it's
Understand
that
that.
close.
I
And
understand.
the wellheads are what, 3 miles away from me? I mean, I
Actual heads,
understand.
this is the
What's that?
recharge area, which is what Zone A is.
And another point, I understand protecting it. I don't have rural water at my house either. So you think I'm purposely out there dumping something or whatever? We drink the water right there. We have a well in our yard, you know, I mean, it's not like we're out there trying to create a problem,
I
you know?
understand that 100%.
So, I mean, that's,
Would never accuse you of that.
no,
That's-
I'm
that's
just saying, you know, it's a point I meant to make earlier, so,
Okay. Well, those are my questions.
Okay.
And you've answered them.
I guess we're good there. Um, Good. One question I think I wanted to ask Eric, and I forgot. One of the points that you made in the information that you provided is how the shallow nature of our wells, that they're so susceptible to any issues, and that we don't have to look very far to find a problem, and that the city of Aurora's wells are no longer usable because of contamination.
That's correct. The sand and gravel formation is relatively shallow. If you look at where the quarries are south of the railroad tracks, that's basically the same formation. They're after the sand and gravel in the quarry areas. That formation continues north of the tracks, and from the north and northeast, that recharge comes through that sand and gravel deposit. And that deposit is really only about, depending on where, 60 to 65 feet deep. And there's very limited, overburden over top of that. In a lot of cases, if you dig past the top 5 or so feet, you'll be in that sand and gravel formation. It's right there, depending on, the geology varies depending on where you are, but it is a very near surface aquifer. And yes, we do supply Aurora because their wells are no longer viable.
And in reality, it doesn't really matter where you're at on the aquifer. If you're on the fringe of it or the middle of it, it all will work its way to the same place, I suppose.
Well, yeah, it can all recharge, and it depends on season, groundwater flows. But that zone A is a pretty defined, there was an evaluation at one point and a reevaluation of where is the critical areas. There's contributing areas, secondary contributing areas, which would be zone B, and the primary contributing area is defined as that zone A. So that is the heart, if you want to call it that, of the recharge area.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Richard, do you have finding of facts?
Yes. I'll read these in its entirety, and the next, as the other ones, I'll just read the highlighted areas for other agenda items here this evening. Brookings City Joint Jurisdiction Conditional Use Permit 2023 JJCU 004. Application for a conditional use permit having been filed with the Joint Board acting as a Joint Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application being made by Cody Clifford regarding the following real property. Wastell's Addition, the northwest 1/4 of Section 22, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township, located at 1202 58th Avenue, Brookings, South Dakota 57006. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on this 5th day of September 2023. Number 1, the Joint Board hereby finding that it is empowered to grant such conditional use under the following sections of the Joint Zoning Ordinance for Brookings County and the City of Brookings. Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.06, Aquifer Protection, Section 3.0604, Zone A, Aquifer Critical Impact Zone, Section 3.060402, Conditional Uses in Zone A, Number 4, Accessory structures greater than 100 square feet in area. And further finding that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. Number 2, the joint board further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing the conditional use requested have been complied with. Performance standards in Zone A in Section 3.060404 on page 47, and performance standards in Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone in Section 3.0605.04 on page 48, Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdictional Ordinance. Number 3, the joint board finds and satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made concerning the following where applicable. A, entrance and exits to the property and proposed structure thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow, control, and access in case of fire or catastrophe. Entrance and exits to the property will use the existing driveway on 58th Avenue. B, off-street parking and loading areas where required, with particular attention to the items in A above and the economic, noise, glare, or other effects of the conditional use on adjoining properties and properties generally in the district. No on-street parking. C, utilities, refuge, and service areas with reference to locations, availability, and compatibility. Sealed holding tank to be pumped out and disposed of per South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resource standards. D, screening and buffering with reference to dimensions, type, and character. None stated. E, signs, if any, and proposed exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, economic effect, compatibility, and harmony of properties in the district. None stated. F, required yards and other open spaces. None stated. G, general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties in the district. Comprehensive plan met for the agricultural district. H, roads providing access to the property are adequate to meet the transportation demands of the proposed conditional use. The Board of Adjustment may require the applicant to enter into a written contract with any township or other governmental unit regarding the upgrading and continued maintenance of any roads used for the conditional use request prior to the issuance of a conditional use. 58th Avenue meets the transportation demands of the conditional use. I, any required notifications of law enforcement or fire department. None stated. J, any safety inspections. Any inspections for a building permit. Number 4, the joint board further determines the conditions as conditional use upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, only personal vehicles and property to be stored on the premises or inside the accessory building. No commercial storage allowed. The Joint Board of Adjustment needs a majority vote of its members present to grant a variance above petitioners a conditional use for the above described property as follows. Build a 66-foot by 96-foot accessory building with a cement floor with drain traps and a sealed holding tank to be used for personal storage only. This conditional use is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all the requirements and conditions in 3 and 4 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the joint zoning ordinance for Brookings County and the City of Brookings. The Brookings County Zoning Director, if approved, is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use. This conditional use is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of September, 2023.
All right, I guess the next thing is to vote. Yes.
I guess I have one question, not about necessarily on the facts of the request. Is the required vote, you've indicated that it's a majority, but it's my understanding it's a two-thirds, should be a two-thirds majority. Can you explain why you've indicated it's only a simple majority?
On a conditional use, it is just the majority of the members present.
Well, the powers and duties of the Board of Adjustment, Section 4-03-03 refers back to the standard ordinance, county ordinance for Board of Adjustment, which requires a two-thirds majority. I don't see anything in there that allows for this decision to be by a simple majority. Did I miss something?
Mr. Mueller, are you here?
I am.
Okay, do you have any comments on this?
Yeah, I mean, I can't go so far as to make a legal interpretation. All I can really do is read state law, 11-2-17-3, which says, for the counties, it says approval of a conditional use request requires the affirmative majority vote of the members of the approving authority who are present and voting. So, the state law says that it requires the affirmative majority vote of the members present and voting. So that's all that, from state law, that's what that says. So I guess that would be the only point I'd make into there.
And while I would agree state law would allow it, the ordinance itself, which then would supersede state law for that purpose, says 2/3. It's your ordinance.
Our ordinance is under review, and this is one of those issues that didn't get to, this law was changed about 2 years ago, I believe, Eric. And we will have to change it in our ordinance. But I don't think we can make we can't make an ordinance more restrictive than state law. And 2/3 would be more restrictive than state law.
Well, I think you
So-
can be more restrictive. That's my point.
Or-
You can be more restrictive than state law at the local level. And I'm just saying
yeah.
that's what it appears to me to be the ordinance. That's what it says. But I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I was just didn't understand because the ordinance doesn't say that. The ordinance says 2/3. So
All the rewrites didn't get done with COVID, trust me.
Okay, I guess we're ready to call the roll.
Atkin,
No.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Yes.
Bartley,
Aye.
and Avery.
No.
Motion passes, 3 ayes, 2 noes.
Okay, we'll move on to our next item. Triple R Partners LLC by Jesse Rounds has made an application 2023 JJCU 005 to the Joint Jurisdiction Board of the Adjustment for a Conditional Use Permit, Joint Zoning Ordinance for Brookings County and the City of Brookings, Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.04A, Agricultural Land District, Section 3.04.02, Conditional Use Number 17, Sand, Gravel, or Quarry Operations, Mineral Exploration and Extraction, Rock Crushers, and Concrete and Asphalt Mixing Plants. The property is described as Lot 2 CKS Partners Edition in the southwest quarter of Section 20, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township. I ask for a motion.
So moved. Diedrich. Second, Aiken.
Okay, motion by Dietrich, second by Aiken. Okay, is the applicant in the room? Want to come forward? Oh, let's have a staff report.
2023 JJCU 005, Triple R Partners LLC by Jesse Rounds has applied for a Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdiction Zoning Ordinance, Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.04A, Agricultural Land District, Section 3.0402, Conditional Use Number 17, Sand, Gravel, or Quarry Operations, Mineral Explorations and Extraction, Rock Crushers, and Concrete and Asphalt Mixing Plants to mine sand and gravel. The proposed 3-acre mining site is on a 52.7-acre parcel they own on the west side of US Highway 14 bypass on the northeast side of Brookings. They would mine gravel and use the raw material for construction projects in the area. The raw material would be used as is and would not be screened or crushed. Proposed mining depth to be 15 to 20 feet with a 4-to-1 slope. And the projected timeline would be 7 to 10 years, or when the mining material is depleted. There is an existing driveway on the west side of US Highway 14 bypass to be used for the entrance and the exit of the property. The hours of the operation would be 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Weed and dust control will be done on an as-needed basis, and berms will be constructed with a 4-to-1 slope along the road and the mining area. The applicant will need to apply for a mining permit from the South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources. The reclamation plan will need to meet the South Dakota Department of Agriculture and Natural Resources requirements. There will be a 3-acre retention pond created when the mining is completed, and the retention pond design will be consistent with the City of Brookings requirements for stormwater retention requirements needed for any future development of the property. The 52.7-acre parcel, to include the proposed mining site, is located in the floodplain in Zone B of the Aquifer's material map. The proposed mining area is north of the A Aquifer Critical Impact Zone, but is not located there. Then they will need to follow the Brookings City, Brookings County Joint Jurisdiction Ordinance, Section 3.0605, Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone, Section 3.060504, Performance Standards in Zone B. The property is located within the 3-mile joint jurisdictional area and is zoned agricultural. Letters were sent to the adjoining landowners, the Aurora Township Chairman and Clerk, South Dakota Department of Transportation, and the Brookings Municipal Utilities. And a staff report was sent to the Brookings Community Development Office and the Brookings Municipal Utilities. Public notices were published in the Brookings Register on August 22nd, 29th, 2023. Here's his conditional use application, the front page. Here is his site plan. This is Highway 14 bypass. The entrance right here. This is a proposed mining area where the retention pond would be located. This is his business plan. Setting the material to be mined, mining depth and the slopes, size of the mine, materials to be used on site, his hours of operations, his access, timeline, and utilize the best management practices as necessary. This is a beacon map showing the aquifer materials, which is the yellow area, which is Zone B of that area. This is a beacon map with the red showing the floodplain, down virtually right in there. The whole property's in the floodplain. This just shows the wellhead. Zone A area is down here in the pink area to the southeast of the proposed mine site, which is up here. This is just a beacon map showing the location. This is US Highway 14. This is the US Highway 14 bypass right here. This used to be this South Dakota State Tree Farm University Research Center, but that has been sold to a private party now, so it's just to the south of that. This is BMU's new proposed water treatment plant that is in construction right here, and this is where the location of that is. This is looking from the driveway, looking towards the north there. Good clear vision. This is looking south on there, flat, clear vision. They're going that way. This is looking towards the west. Driveway coming in there. This is looking from the driveway, looking towards the southwest. Proposed mining areas down in this corner right here. You can see they've got the berms constructed around there, around the perimeter of the property. This is a proposed mining area right here around this green area, just looking towards the southwest of that. This is just looking west towards the north end of the property. That's all that I have, and the applicant is here this evening.
Yeah, if the applicant wants to come forward and make a presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Jesse Rounds. We are applying for a mining permit in this area because the material that we are excavating from the retention pond classifies as a mine material because of the nature of the sand and gravel in that material, as opposed to like a retention pond with clay or other material in there. So that's what qualifies this as a mined area, just to be clear. With future development in this area or potential future development, we will need a retention pond of some nature and fashion within that area. So to be proactive, we're actually creating, with the best management practice of a runoff sediment basin is what we're proposing.
Okay, thanks. Anything else that you want to bring forward?
Do you have any questions for us?
I do. Just a clarification on what you said. Do I understand correctly that this will not function as a mine, but you're seeking the conditional use because of the type of material that is there?
Because of the type of the material.
Okay.
As soon as the material leaves the site and is sold, it classifies as a mine because of the type of material. Yep. You can sell topsoil, clay, any other materials that don't qualify as a mined material. As soon as it becomes sand or gravel, it now qualifies as a mine with the state. Therefore, you have to submit for a mining permit.
Noted. Thank you.
Even if you're digging a retention pond, if that material leaves the site, it's now classified as a mine.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We'll now open the public hearing. If we have anybody that wants to speak in favor of the petition, can come forward.
Thank you. Eric Witt, Brookings Utilities Water and Wastewater Manager. We worked with the applicant on this project, and they were considerate of our concerns. And now this is not in Zone A, but again in Zone B. They reduced their scope of their project to just what would be required for a stormwater retention pond, the footprint of, and agreed to use best management practices as they develop that pond and finish that off. So if they were to annex now or in the future, and I believe there could be an interest in that, that retention pond would be a required feature of the city and a beneficial feature for the community. So I appreciate their willingness to limit the size of the footprint they're working in to that stormwater retention area, and we are not opposed to this project.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wants to speak against the issue? All right, we'll close the public hearing. Does the board have any additional comments or questions? All right, we'll go to the findings of facts.
One click away. There it is. Help. All right, this I will not read in its entirety. I will just read the highlighted areas on there. Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdictional Conditional Use Permit 2023 JJCU 005, an application for a conditional use permit having been filed with the Joint Board. Acting as the Joint Board of Adjustment, a copy of the application being attached here too. Such application may be made by Triple R Partners LLC by Jesse Rounds regarding the following real property. Lot 2, CKS Partners Edition in the southwest 1/4 of Section 20, Township 110 North, Range 49 West, Aurora Township. After due notice, a public hearing have been held on the application on this 5th day of September 2023. Number one, the joint board hereby finding that it is empowered to grant such conditional use under the following sections of the joint zoning ordinance for Brookings County and the city of Brookings. Article 3, District Regulations, Chapter 3.04A, Agricultural Land District, Section 3.0402, Conditional Use Number 17. Sand, gravel, or quarry operations, mineral explorations and/or extractions, rock crushers, and concrete and asphalt mixing plants. Further finding that the granting of the conditional use will not adversely affect the public interest. Number two, the joint board further finds and certifies that the following specific rules governing the conditional use requested have been complied with. Performance standards in Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone in Section 3.0605.04 on page 48 of the Brookings County, Brookings City Joint Jurisdictional Ordinance. Number three, the joint board further finds that the satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been made regarding the following are applicable. A, entrance and exit. Entrance to and exit to the property will use the existing driveway on US Highway 14 bypass. B, off-street parking. No on-street parking, no parking of equipment or storage of fuel or oil in the mining area. Separate parking lot and storage area for fuel, oil, and equipment with containment. Must be 300 foot away from the mined or the actively mined area. C, utilities and refuge. Dumpster service required for garbage disposal. D, screening and buffering. Berms with a 4-to-1 slope around the mining area. Berms to be seeded down, silt fence installed around the berms or the perimeter of the mining area until grass is established to prevent erosion. Perimeter of the mining area to be fenced in. E, signs, none stated. F, required yards and open spaces, none stated. G, general compatibility, comprehensive plan met for the agricultural district. H, roads providing access. US Highway 14 bypass meets the transportation demands of the conditional use. I, notification of law enforcement or the fire department. Notification of Brookings County 911 and Brookings County Emergency Management of any hazard materials or chemical spills. J, any safety inspections. Any inspections required by the South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources or any other state agency for gravel mining. Number four, the joint board further determines and conditions its conditional use upon the following additional special conditions or safeguards. A, follow Brookings City, Brookings County Joint Jurisdictional Ordinance, Section 3.0605, Zone B, Aquifer Secondary Impact Zone, Section 3.0605.04, Performance Standards in Zone B. B, mined area not to exceed 3 acres. C, spraying all noxious weeds and other weeds before they go to seed. Monitor weed growth and weed control by spraying, mowing, or tilling by permit holder or designated professional spraying service. Weed control is pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law, SUDR 38-22, and to be inspected 2 times a year for weed growth and weed control by the Brookings County Weed Supervisor. D, dust control such as magnesium chloride or like products on the driveway entrance, exit, or loading areas as required. E, hours of operation, 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. F, reclamation plan, mined area to be a retention pond. Best management practices to be used for the design, construction, and maintenance of the retention pond. G, South Dakota Department of Agricultural and Natural Resources mining permit required and a copy on file with the Brookings County Development Office. Conditional use is good for 10 years until September 5th, 2033, or until the gravel or sand is depleted. The Joint Board of Adjustment needs a majority vote of its members present to grant the above petitioner a conditional use for the above describable property as follows. Conditional use number 17, mined sand and gravel. This conditional use permit is specifically conditioned upon initial and continued compliance with all requirements of the conditional use in 3 and 4 above, and upon compliance with all applicable provisions of the Joint Zoning Ordinance for Brookings County and the City of Brookings. If approved, the Brookings County Zoning Director is authorized to issue any required building permits for construction consistent with the requirements of this conditional use permit. If this conditional use permit is not used within 3 years of the date granted, it shall be invalid. Dated this 5th day of September, 2023.
All right, I guess we'll just proceed to vote. Call the roll.
Vanderwall,
Aye.
Dietrich,
Aye.
Bartley,
Aye.
Aiken,
Aye.
and Avery.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, do we have any department reports? All right, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
We'll take just a short minute here to get transitioned to the county board, and we'll let you know in a couple minutes when we're ready to go.